Good afternoon. It is our privilege to have you for today's webinar on turbocharging performance excellence. This is part one of two-part series. I'm Sachin Garg, and I have worked with two leading Indian organizations reaping full benefits of implementing performance excellence framework such as Malcolm Baldrige criteria. Today's webinar would be conducted by Mr. Suresh Lulla, and it is our privilege to hear it from a person who pioneered quality movement in India by setting a dedicated quality consultancy firm, Qimpro, in 1987. Mr. Lulla was mentored by Dr. J.M. Juran, the father of quality, and a man who taught Japan to manage for quality and become a developed economy. Mr. Lulla has 50 years of experience as a management consultant, trainer, facilitator, speaker, author, and more importantly, a storyteller. His stories, as he calls them, Quality Fables, are available on 3 volumes on qimpro.com/store. And I have personally read each of his 75 Quality Fables, and I strongly suggest you to read them as well. Before we begin, we would like to inform you that a copy of this webinar would be available on Qimpro's website and their LinkedIn page. We look forward to your feedback and questions at the end of this webinar. Without further delay, it is my honor to welcome Mr. Lulla, and I hope that each one of you enjoy listening to him as I do time.
Thank you, Sachin, for your kind words, your warm introduction. Welcome, friends, to the 8th Qimpro webinar, Turbocharging for Performance Excellence. The subject is very vast, so we've decided to break it into 2 webinars. You'll be hearing the first part now. I would like to add that Sachin is a well-accomplished consultant on performance excellence. If I had to rank 5 consultants in the country who specialize in performance excellence, Sachin would be one of the 5, and perhaps the youngest. I've changed the format for our webinar this time. We will start with a fable. We'll learn the lessons from the fable, and then we'll try and understand the underlying principles of performance excellence. The quality fable that follows will show you that leaders must have stretch visions, but doable visions. And that for transformation, you must follow a structured, I underline structured, methodology. So the fable is systematic transformation, efficient and effective. Efficient in the processes and effective with respect to the customers. Towards the turn of the last century, a young prince inherited an empire, a business empire. This empire consisted of cement business, carbon black business, filament yarn business, aluminum business, and copper business. During the license Raj in the previous century, his father had for each commodity established multiple companies, each producing a registered licensed quantity. Each company had its own culture, but each manufactured the same commodity. Customer experiences varied. These companies for each commodity were scattered all over the country and even in neighboring countries. For each commodity, therefore, apart from an individual culture, there was a brand identified with the company. Brand 1, 2, and so on. The young prince had just graduated from a leading institution in England. He grappled with the license Raj culture. He knew the license Raj was dead 5 years back. He dreamed of converting each of his businesses into a Kohinoor. To accomplish that, he needed help. He was young, he was a learner, he listened, but implemented based on his judgment. He recruited 4 advisors from multinational corporations, each specializing in a specific industry. He explained to them that as a first step, for each commodity, he would like to convert the multiple brands 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to a common brand A. That hopefully will ensure that the customers, primarily rural, would have a predictable, consistent experience. It was around that time that he invited me to his company. I was impressed by his enthusiasm, his vision, and most impressed by the fact that he had quality in his DNA. He explained to me the group mission: turbocharging for performance excellence, commodity by commodity. The reason for his transforming a group. The group vision was world-class quality in 1,000 days, commodity by commodity. That was the snapshot he had in his mind. Group policy, simple. Customer first, always. And the values he brought to the group were integrity and maturity. Integrity, according to him, meant keeping your promises to customers. And maturity, to be standing outside the problem and depersonalizing it and not blaming one another. So we consulted and we tried to prioritize the companies or the commodities that needed transformation. Top of the list was cement. The young prince called all the leaders of his 6 cement plants. He informed them that he had awarded an assignment to a management consultancy firm to do a baseline assessment on quality of their performance. He requested them to cooperate with the consulting firm, and he also requested them to inform managers and executives to do the same. The model for performance excellence, he explained to them, required that leadership and strategic planning be the foundation for performance excellence. I draw your attention to the base of this diagram. 1, leadership. 2, strategic planning. Leadership being the collective leadership of the organization, not just the prince. Strategic planning being a vision deployment exercise. 3, the hub of this model, customer and market focus. He informed them that they exist because they have customers and that the customer pays their salary. Around the customer, he had 4, knowledge management. Knowledge migrated with individuals. He wanted it centralized. 5, cost of poor quality. He believed his empire was the richest because it could afford wasteful costs. He wanted to make his empire profitable by removing the waste and reducing the cost of poor quality. 6, human resource focus. He mentioned to them that people make quality. Employees are an asset. They are the only appreciating asset in the organization. All other assets depreciate. 7, since work flows horizontally on processes, the value creation processes that delivered to the external customer, they needed to become efficient in terms of process performance and effective in terms of customer delight. Support processes, where employees were the customers of other departments supplying services. 9, supplier and partner focus. He indicated to them that the customer receives outputs from a long process. We own part of the process. The supplier is our partner. Thereafter, we went into 10, improvement and innovation. The engine for transformation is improvement and innovation. 11, we need to audit what we do. There must be integrity. All this will lead to business results that the prince dreamed of. So I undertook an assignment doing a baseline IQMM assessment of the 6 cement plants. The variation in performance was astounding. On an IQMM scale, they varied between level 2 and level 4. Take a look at this graph. The x-axis is the level of IQMM rating, and the y-axis is conformance to excellence practices. Level 2 and level 4 were just around what an ISO 9000 could deliver. But the bonus was that the assessment exercise harvested best practices for each commodity, company by company. And that led to internal benchmarking. This internal benchmarking actually turbocharged the transformation. The prince set a goal. He wanted all his units in cement to be level 4 organizations in 200 days. Next, he set another milestone of level 5 in 500 days and level 7 in 1,000 days. With the success in cement business, he extended it to the other commodities in India, Thailand, and Indonesia. The prince lived happily ever after. So what are the lessons we learn? Have a stretch but doable vision. Quality is defined by the customer. Internal benchmarking is time efficient and cost effective. Follow a structured methodology for transformation. The foundation for performance excellence is leadership, strategic planning, and customer focus. Clone the transformation experience to other group companies. This is a multiplier effect. So let's look at the IQMM Accelerated Transformation for Business Excellence model. The x-axis is the certification level, level 1 to level 10. The y-axis is the percentage conformance to the criteria. Up to level 5, we have managing for quality. The focus is on the process efficiency. So when you have accomplished ISO 9000, it's the improvement that makes a difference. Stop. Yeah. Improvement makes the difference. You then go beyond level 5 into quality of management, which is nothing but performance excellence. Here, you bring transformation through innovation of processes and practices. So what is the difference between improvement and innovation? Improvement is a left brain logical activity designed to solve chronic problems of an organization. On the other hand, innovation taps the right brain along with the left for creative thinking, generating ideas and transforming the harvested ideas into an innovative solution. Not every idea is a solution. With 20% conformance to the IQMM protocol, if you're lucky and you actually done an ISO 9000 implementation for the true spirit of ISO 9000, you would be at level 3. With 70% conformance, you could start applying for the Malcolm Baldrige Award or the Deming Application Prize. The clones of Malcolm Baldrige in India is the IMC Ramkrishna Bajaj National Quality Award. Performance excellence requires an orchestra of quality, improvement, innovation, benchmarking, and best practices.
Mr. Lulla. Thank you, Mr. Lulla. I sincerely appreciate your time and wisdom about turbocharging performance excellence. And from your storytelling style that simply and specifically communicates the complex quality principles and techniques, I strongly believe that storytelling needs to be an essential trait for all quality professionals.
I agree.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope the webinar was useful and we are now open to your questions. Please click on the Q&A icon and not the chat icon and kindly post your queries. There is a poll up for you. You can also respond to the poll. Mr. Lulla, while I wait for the questions from the participant, I would like to take the liberty of asking you a question. In today's VUCA environment, organizations need to act with speed and agility to develop or redesign their existing product and services. What are your suggestions to bring in speed while implementing performance excellence?
A VUCA environment is very destabilizing for an organization. So the emphasis on quality control and quality improvement diminishes because product life cycles and maybe even company life cycles are shrinking in a VUCA environment. The emphasis should be on building quality into the design. That capability has not yet been tapped in India. Building quality into the design and thereby having control probably by robots, which can do 100% inspection. You reduce the risk. The sampling method has its limitations. Human errors are also there. And because the life cycles are shrinking, the habit of improvement may be irrelevant. You need to have the habit of building quality into design. Let me explain that a little more. Where does this start? It starts by knowing who your customer is. Most organizations know what their market is, but do they know customer segmentation? Market segmentation is based on demographics, customer segmentation on buying behavior. Think of an Amazon, right? It has to understand buying behavior to be able to deliver faster, better, cheaper, different. Now, if you understand that, then you can build features into your products, processes, bring capable processes that can combat VUCA. And your break-even points have to absolutely come down. You can't afford any waste. Your break-even points have to slip to maybe just a few days. You need to recover everything. You need to be perfect in your ability to translate customer needs, anticipated needs into design. That should become our strength.
Thank you, Mr. Lulla. Oh, it certainly does. And we have series of questions for us. I'm afraid we won't be able to take all the questions today, but let me pick up some of the questions. One of the participants would like to know about the best organizations who have transformed themselves. And did they do something different over and above from what you have shared on the webinar?
You're talking of in India or overseas?
The question does not specifically mentions it, but we'll consider India in context.
Oh, there are several. In fact, if you go into the history of Aditya Birla Group, for example, today it's a service company. Look at Reliance Group, being purely petroleum. Today, it's in every service industry. The Tata Group has transformed. And each of them had quality on the agenda and top of the agenda. Meetings required that quality be top of the agenda in the discussion and not that incidental last item. The last item on the agenda always becomes carry forward to the next. So you spend your maximum time discussing quality issues and not just about failures and complaints and all, but essentially how will it drive our vision? So I mentioned three groups to you. Now Mahindra has transformed. L&T has transformed over the 30 years that I have been observing them.
Thank you, Mr. Lulla. Our next question is, what are the specific steps can we take to move from improvement to innovation?
Could you repeat that question, please?
What are the specific steps can we take to move from improvement to innovation?
Very simple. Start using your right brain. I'll dwell a little on this. We each have a left brain and a right brain, and we pride ourselves in being logical left brain thinkers in every profession: engineering, management, medicine, law. We are logical people. Now think about it. When a child is born, it has a left brain and a right brain. Correct? The left brain being logical, the right brain being creative. For the first 3-4 years, which part of the brain does a child use? The creative side. It communicates, it succeeds in its communication through its creative way of communicating. The child then unfortunately is sent to school by the parents. And that child goes through education which is purely logical. The reward and recognition is for mathematics, science, and so on. The artistic subjects, the right brain subjects, are considered belonging to a loser. So it gets dormant. When you become managers and you are left brain thinkers, you are actually using a fraction of your left brain. So of your total capability, you're using such a minuscule amount. What you need to do is spark your right brain. Now, as you have quality tools or quality improvement tools for your left brain, you need to have creativity tools for your right brain. And these creativity tools can lead to ideation that you never imagined before. And you can, from these ideas, develop innovative solutions. So it doesn't take time. It only takes a will to move into innovation. The biggest underemployed asset of an organization is the creativity resident in the people. Does that answer?
I'm sure it does. And one of the participants would like to hear your perspective on innovation now in comparison to the previous decade in India.
Innovation in the previous decade was very much product or service focused, the output. Today, it isn't on what you have innovated, but also how you will deliver. So processes also need to be innovated. And that is the big change. So total management, one of the core values of management would be managing for innovation in anything we do. It calls for a very different culture and a very different kind of leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Lulla. The next question is performance excellence in hospitals and healthcare sector. Would you like to share your experience in implementing performance excellence at hospitals and in healthcare companies?
I'll attempt that, but I'm not an authority for that. See, performance excellence happens when you made a habit of improvement. Now, the NABH accreditation system is an absolute essential foundation for improvement. While the accreditation would focus on control, there is one chapter on improvement which brings life into the system. That's continuous improvement. It's one of the last chapters, if not the last. I believe if we can make a habit of improvement in healthcare institutions, it would make a world of difference. I also believe that your customer in a hospital while the primary one is the patient, but it's also the family that's supporting the patient in the Indian culture that is a customer. How comfortable are you making the family? Some of the hospitals in Bombay have started addressing this. Asian Heart, to be one of the examples, makes the family very comfortable. They know exactly what's happening. Unless you have a medical doctor in your family, you are lost in a hospital. How easy are you making it for a family that's stressed with a family member as a patient? So new hospitals that are being designed, the Hiranandani Hospital, the Wokhart Hospital, are addressing these issues. And there's a Reliance Harkishan Das Foundation, a Reliance Foundation Hospital, which is also exceptional in its practices of performance excellence. So that's my limited answer to your question, but I hope it throws some light.
It does, Mr. Lulla. And just going back on your answer on innovation, one of the participants would like to know your advice for medium and small enterprises which are known for creativity but have a long journey of logical thinking to take place.
I need you to repeat that question, please.
Yeah, the participant would like to know your advice for implementing performance excellence at medium and small enterprises which are known for creativity, such as startups coming up with new products and new services, but still have a long way to go on logical thinking.
See, startups, I don't have any experience with them. But small and medium enterprises, yes. One can't overindulge in the criteria of performance excellence because the structure of organizations is different and it's typically family owned, where individuals wear multiple hats and probably have succeeded based on hardcore experience. So to bring in new concepts for excellence and so on, I would imagine their customers are large organizations and they have few customers who buy most of their capacity. So they need to focus on improvement of their processes and thereby reducing their cost of poor quality. Cost of poor quality, I've been screaming, is at least 1/3 of total costs in an organization. Even if we halved it for you in maybe 2 years, you could double your profit because the savings go straight to the bottom line and is recurring. So excellence there would come from focusing on processes and efficiencies and byproduct reduction in cost of poor quality, which is one of the elements of the performance excellence model. You do have intuitive leaders in small and medium enterprises, and they are bullseye in their conclusion, but they don't know how they came up with it. They understand business, they understand their customers better than formal procedures for understanding customer needs. And for that, All you have to do is meet customers. Small, medium enterprises have few customers and they meet them. They go to their plants. They understand how their output is being used in that plant. Is it fit for use? Is it creating problems for you? They are very intelligent about customer. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Lulla. Thank you for your time and wisdom once again. And on a lighter side, I requested my wife to join for today's webinar. So together we can reduce the cost of poor quality at our house.
Yes, of course you can. Start with the kitchens.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have on today's webinar. Thank you for attending this webinar. And you may please send your queries and feedback to Qimpro at connect@qimpro.com. The next webinar is part 2 of Turbocharging for Performance Excellence. It will be hosted on 24th of April at 12 p.m. Indian Standard Time. For updates on Qimpro's webinar, events, digital courses, self-assessments, and Mr. Lulla's blog and articles, please follow Qimpro on their LinkedIn page. Or to receive WhatsApp alert, please text Qimpro your name. Qimpro uses the broadcast feature on WhatsApp, so you will need to add their number to your contacts in order to receive their messages. With that, thanks again for joining for today's webinar and wishing all of you a very happy new financial year and a new resolution to implement turbocharged performance excellence methods at home and at work. Do join us next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you all the participants and thank you very much, Sachin.